Good afternoon and welcome to your House chamber for this delegation session. Before we begin, we'd like to introduce our staff that will be assisting us today. We have our Sergeant at Arms, Ruben Agun, our um, IT guide, Delbert Camacho, our delegation clerk, Ms. Joan Kaipat, and we also have, like to introduce our new LB staff, right? Mr. John Bradley, who's our legal counsel for today, and Ms. Leila Sanchez, who will be our new journal clerk. Thank you, staff, for being here. And with that, this is our first day, fourth regular session. Today is Friday, December 9, 2022, and it is approximately 1:12 p.m. And I'd like to officially call this session to order. I'd like to ask everybody to please rise for a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. And on to our first item of our agenda. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Adda. Representative Atto.
Present.
Representative Babauta Selena. Representative Babauta Sheila.
Gaigia.
Representative Camacho Joel. Representative Camacho Vicente.
Here.
Senator De Leon Guerrero.
Here.
Representative Demapan.
Stick out.
Representative Flores.
Present.
Representative Guerrero.
Stick out.
Representative Lizama. Representative Magofnia. Representative Probst.
Present.
Senator Kirgua. Representative Sablan Christina.
Present.
Representative Sablan John Paul.
Stick out.
Chairman Sablan Vini.
Gaya.
Representative Staffler. Representative Villa Gomez.
Hello.
Representative Yangtamai. Representative Yumu. Mr. Chairman, we have 14 members present, 7 members absent.
Thank you, Clerk. With 14 members present, we have established a quorum. And please, for the record, Rep. Selena Babauta, Rep. Joel Camacho, Rep. Danita Yangtamai, Representative Richard Lizama, Representative Ralph Yumo, Representative Roy Adda, and Senator JQ are hereby excused for today's delegation session. And before we move down to item B, I'd like to recognize the floor leader for some suspension motions for today's actions.
Thank you, Chairman. So members, today I am going to make a motion to suspend pertinent rules. Rule 3, Section 1C, to amend the agenda so that we can accept communications that didn't make it after the notice. And also on today's agenda under House Communications, there was an error, and so the House local bills were not referred to Ways and Means. The next rule to be suspended is Rule 7, Section 8, Committee Reports. Because of the timing of our session, we will be suspending committee report requirements. The House local bills were introduced in the House, and there was enough time for our members and members of the public to review the documents. And then there's Rule 5, Section 5, Public Comments. And so we will be accepting public comments today, even though some items may not be on the agenda, because as we're all aware, you do have the substitute in front of you, and that will be introduced later on in the session, but we are going to go ahead and suspend rules as we have members of the public here ready to make public comments. So if there's no objection, Mr. Chairman, I will go ahead and make that motion. So move.
So there's been a motion for the suspension of rules, as stated by our floor leader, Representative Sheila Babauta, and it has been seconded. Any discussion on that motion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Fatto,
Yes.
Representative Babauta Sheila,
Again.
Representative Camacho Vicente,
Yes.
Senator Dylan Guerrero,
Yes.
Representative Demapan,
Gun.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero,
Gun.
Representative Magofnia, Representative Probst,
Yes.
Representative Sablan Christina,
Yes.
Representative Sablan John Paul,
Gun.
Representative Staffler,
Yes.
Representative Villa Gomez.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Hungan.
Mr. Chairman, all 4 members voted yes. 14 members, my apologies.
Thank you, Clerk. With all 14 members voting yes, the motion is hereby adopted. So now we'll move on to item B, and that is reading and approval of the journal. And at this time, I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I motion to accept SNILD Journal number 22-12, first day, second special session, June 29, 22. So move.
So there's been a motion for the adoption of SNILD Journal number 22-12, and it has been seconded. Any discussion on that motion? Ready? All in favor of that motion, please say aye. All who oppose, say nay. Motion carries. And now we move down to item C, and this is the portion. Now we move down to item C, and this is the portion of our agenda where we will be receiving public comments. And before we begin that, we'd like to welcome all the entities that are here and individuals are here. We'd also like to acknowledge and welcome back our former minority leader and our former SNILD chairman and Congressman Ramon Tabutep. Welcome back to your chamber, sir. So with that, we are now accepting public comments. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes and state your name for the record. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just go directly to my comments, and it's going to be less than probably 5 minutes, although I have about 4 pages. I've taken the liberty to provide you 3 of it so that I'll just skim down to 1 page and hopefully just my bullet points. So hopefully you have clear understanding of my comment this afternoon. Relative to miscellaneous communication 2299, and that is dated September 13 to the chairman. My name is Ramon Tabutep. I am here as the president for the Northern Marianas Athletics, or NMA in short. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and to your distinguished members. Thank you for all your support to our sports family. NMA is a member of the CNMI Sports Governing Body called NAMASA. In athletics, athletics is one of 16 sports under NAMASA, with 16 members. NMA is also a member of the Regional Oceania Athletics Association with 20 members. We are also a member of the International World Athletics with 214 members. We implement annual, biannual, and quadro activities throughout. Unlike most sports, athletics requires quite a lot of volumes of equipment, storage space for its operation and maintenance. Some of the delicate equipment that we have are stored with our member federation at their homes. As you may recall, in June of this year, we hosted the Pacific Mini Games, and as such, we acquired additional equipment. That same month, we also sent our qualified athletes to Mackay, Australia, for a competition called it's an annual competition, Oceania Athletics Championship. In July, Oceania Athletics Association Council finalized an evaluation of facilities in the region. It's reflected in part of the documents that you have. In August, council decided to consider CNMI's quest to host the Micronesian, or the Oceania Cup, again reflected in the documents that's provided. In August, also and then we send out letters to the government, to the CNMI government, to the presiding officers of the legislature, and the governing body of sports in the CNMI. We receive a positive go ahead with the preparation of this event called for in June next year, 2020, 2023. In September, we met with our OAA officials online. In October and November, we began formulation of the local organizing committee with the affected governing body, NAMASA, MVA, NMC, and our major sponsors and private entities. I kindly ask that you do when you have chance to read through the documents that I provided. Of the projected 220,000 cost for this micro cup, Oceania Athletics has pledged 100,000 upfront. We anticipate 350 participants in this 5-day of activities. I will be happy to take any questions you may. Thank you so much for your unwavering support then, your favorable consideration now, and hope to see you then, when. As such, happy holidays and have a safe one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tabutet.
Let's see. I'm gonna take this off. Am I audible? Whoa, that might be a bit loud. Hello. Good afternoon, honorable members. My name is Zeno Camacho de Leongro Jr., and I am a board member of our Commonwealth 670, also known as OCW 670. And I want to first thank you all for choosing to provide critical funds to support us and many other nonprofits in the important work that we do. Too often, the barrier of cost stands in the way of ingenious ideas aimed at supporting this community we call home. Please be rest assured that your choice today will make a difference. OCW 670's mission is to raise awareness and provide education regarding militarism and military activities in the Marianas. We aim to protect our ancestral lands, seas, and skies from irreparable harm that unchecked development may cause. We all know too well that in the CNMI, the land we stand upon is really all we got. Thus, it is our duty to protect it with all we got. The money you provide us will aid us in furthering these goals. Quite actually, this weekend we are convening an intimate summit with 30 Indigenous women to discuss militarism in the CNMI. Providing such invaluable spaces for dialogue through these programs is just but one example of how we can spend these funds. So again, on behalf of the board of our Commonwealth 670, thank you for all your continued support for the nonprofits of the CNMI. And we wish you a blessed holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Leon Guerrero. And the podium is still open. And again, please state your name for the record.
Thank you. Test. Oh, can you hear me? Yes, Hongan. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Buenas holidays and tiro, honorable members of the CNMI legislature. My name is Eva Uggan Cruz, and I am here in capacity as the executive director of a newly founded nonprofit organization, Manhita Marianas. on behalf of our board and our members and our affiliates, I am honored to extend our utmost gratitude and appreciation for the support that you are providing us for Manhita's mission to elevate the indigenous culture and arts of the people of the Marianas and to create opportunities for our future generations. Your support will contribute to programs and projects in the community designed to inform and cultivate talent and leadership in our island's youth, engaging them in the exploration of identity through Inafa Malik, the interconnectedness of our relationships with our natural environment, with our elders and our ancestors, with each other and with ourselves. Additionally, as the Festival of Pacific Arts approaches, we hope to develop capacity by building networks and creating accessible resources that assist artists in exhibiting what makes our community unique, both here and within the greater Pacific. Again, ginin manhita in nayam zui SNILD sandangkuluna sidos maasit and in agradecimiento dan sidos mambenendisi.
Jesus Masi, Senora Algun Cruz, and the podium is open.
Tiro Mehafa Day. My name is Roberto Santos. I am here on behalf of Pride Marianas Youth, and also T Project. We are the advocates, as I'm sure many of you know, for the LGBTQIA plus community here in the Marianas. And I just want to take this moment to introduce more of what we advocate for and what that means when it comes to funding. It may seem trivial when we talk about renting spaces and holding these events as safe spaces, but to us in the queer community, these little things that may seem trivial as getting drinks, the music that we play, DJs that play Lady Gaga or Britney Spears that may seem cliche, these are all critical things that tell people in our community that this is a space that accepts them and understands them. And I know it's easy to go to a bar or a library or a cafe any day of the week and not feel threatened that you might be aggressed because of whose hand you're holding or who you're talking with or the way you talk. But for us, that means everything to be able to create these spaces. And even if it takes that money, that's what we have to do to get it. And especially in light of recent events, we know that what happens over there in the US is influencing our culture over here. And it's all the more reason for us to put our best foot forward and just show that we exist and that there is community here and that we have each other's backs and that we can take care of each other as is our culture. I really appreciate your continued support, your growing support. And may I just say, when I am invited to speak at gatherings like this and given and offered the support, it is more than gratitude. I feel it is relief that my people are behind my community and I. Jesus Masi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Santos. And the podium is still open for public comments.
Check mic. Off a day, Tiro, inono sa Dave Cabrera. Ang dongko na agradecimento, Chairman, and todo sa mga nagagipog na dia. I'm here to talk about the Talaja Club and the Talaja Club program. I like telling the story about the inception of the Talaja Club because it was an experience that, that light bulb moment that we all like having. I was organizing a Talaja workshop on behalf of another really great organization here in Saipan, Friends of the Miranda Trench. We put together a one-day workshop where we invited kids of a certain age group to come and join us for a workshop where we introduce or reintroduce them to Talaja casting and sharing sharing the knowledge of Talaja casting techniques. That Talaja workshop was a success. All the kids that were there were extremely enthusiastic, but wanted more. These one-day workshops are excellent, but they don't make the kind of impact with depth that Representative Sheila Babata once mentioned to me. We need to have these more, and we need to have them be progressive, and that's the aim of the Talaja Club. The mission of the Talaja Club is to reinvigorate traditional fishing customs and cultivating informed ocean stewards of all ages. So the Talaja Club program is a multifaceted approach to that. Our program includes a free 4-month long curriculum, progressive curriculum that's standardized, scalable, with certain modules being available in person as well as online. Um, this curriculum would include topics like Talaja casting techniques, the basics. We take someone who has not had any experience or very little experience to being proficient within the end of those 4 months. We also include subjects like food fishes of the Marianas, seasonalities, how to find these spots, the importance of logging your data for fishery management, conservation, as well as in this 4-month-long period, our members of our cohort will have the opportunity to participate in community ocean stewardship projects. And that goes towards you receiving at the end of these 4 months your very own talaja and peripheral tools. So now you've become a proficient talajera, but you are now a responsible and educated fisher. And that's what we want to cultivate with the Talaja Club and the Talaja Club program. I'm here with Jeremiah Beneventi, who's one of the most sought after and recognized educators and instructors when it comes to the Talaja, as well as Jolene Salas, who's a community activist as well as a conservationist. She agreed to be on our board, thank goodness. I'm just sort of managing the operations of it all. I really want to express my deepest gratitude for you all contributing to this program and the kind of impact that we intend to make to the community. Thank you very much, Jusmali. Happy holidays to everyone.
Jesus Masi, Mr. Cabrera. Our podium is still open. Any more public comments?
Buenas, good afternoon. My name is Ryan Camacho. Initially, I was going to speak on behalf of Pride Marianas, but after hearing all of these other public comments, I thought I'd just add a different perspective to it. Firstly, with Pride Marianas, I share the sentiment with Roberto that hearing this legislation and having the support from the legislature brings validation to me and people like me or similar to me. And so I share that. I just kind of want to show that it's an investment into the people. I know nonprofits are always looked at as like a charity, but really it's an investment into the capacity building and the sustainability of our community, our livelihood, our islands. Through Pride Marianas, our goal is to really make it worldwide and really make it a destination where people will come to visit for these events, put it on the map and bring in tourists. And so I see it being an economic driver, just as sports has been an economic driver as we experienced through the Pacific mini games earlier. And I can see that with our Commonwealth or the Talaza. I mean, these are cultural aspects, environmental aspects that can really attract attention to our region. And so even if it's $10,000, it's putting in a seed that I hope that these organizations will make it grow into something more sustainable for our community and our region. So thank you for the support.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Anybody else? Okay, with no more public comments, we now move down to item D, introduction of local bills. And first, I will recognize Representative Leila Staffler to introduce her House Local Bill.
Thank you, Chairman. Introducing House Local Bill 22-38 to reappropriate $63,749 allotted under Saipan Local Law 20-18 and $42,551.45 allotted under Saipan Local Law 20-24 and for other purposes, introduced by myself, and always welcome for others. Thank you.
Is there a request to move to calendar or?
Oh, yes, please, if I may. So moved. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on. Yeah, these local bills were on the House communications, so you can reference that on the actual communication. So next, I'd like to recognize Representative Blas Jonathan, BJ Atal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Formally introducing House Local Bill 22-41 to appropriate $2,644,000 from revenues collected pursuant to Saipan Local Law 11-2 as amended and for other purposes, introduced by myself and several others. And may I continue, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Furthermore, formally introducing House Local Bill number 22-42 to appropriate up to $801,544 from the Third Senatorial District Developers Infrastructure Tax Fund and for other purposes, introduced by myself and several others. In addition, the last local bill, House Local Bill number 22-43 to appropriate unobligated funds under Saipan Local Law 22-10 and for other purposes, introduced by myself and several others. And without any objections from the members, may I ask the chair and the floor leader if all local bills can be placed on calendar for action today.
Thank you, Representative Ato. Are there any unnumbered local bills for introduction? Members? Okay, with none, let's move on to item E, introduction of local resolutions. Are there any unnumbered resolutions for introduction? We'll move down to item F, messages from the governor. Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, we have 6, Governor's Communication number 22-24 through 22-29.
Any discussion under messages from the governor? Recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My comment is in regards to Governor's Communication 22-24, vetoed House Local Bill 22-18, Substitute 1. And for the members and the viewing public, this House Local Bill that we passed was to really allow the mayor of the Northern Islands to grant permits to anyone entering the Northern Islands, and it was vetoed by the governor. And I'm really disappointed in this veto. I understand that according to his letter, they believe that this is a CNMI-wide issue and not just a delegation styled issue. And I understand that. However, I also understand that right now there are no ports in the Northern Islands and that the mayor's office is seeking support in this way to keep track of people who are going up to the Northern Islands so that we can protect our natural environment from invasive species, so that we can protect our people up there who stay without connection, no running water, no power, and then see big vessels and ships. And sometimes people who land in the Northern Islands come up to the actual land and they're not even aware of who they are. So, this was an attempt to at least place some kind of policy and requirement in place while we figure everything out. And I just want to state for the record that I will work closely with the representatives of Precinct 4 in the next delegation, the next House, so that we can support the Northern Islands and have more protections in place, because our Northern Islands are pristine, untouched. And I hope that we all get to visit one day before further destruction is imposed on our sister islands up north. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Floor Leader Babauta. Any other comments under Governor's Communications? Okay, let's move on to item G, messages from the mayors of Saipan and the Northern Islands. Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, we have two mayor's communication, number 2238 and 2239.
Thank you, Clerk. Any discussion on mayor's communications? None. So we'll move on to item H, reports and communications from the heads of department and agencies. We have none. Item I, House Communications. Recognize the clerk.
Mr. Chairman, we have 22. We have House Communication 2151 through 2172.
Thank you, clerk. Short recess.
Because it's not
Okay, we are back in session. And before we move on, just for the record, I'd like to reference House Communication number 22-70, and that's an off-island notice. The representative stated in that communication is Representative Blas Jonathan Attal. It should state Representative Ralph and Yumo. So if no objection, could we treat that as a technical, and the clerk will make those changes for the record. Thank you. Before moving on, also, I'd like for us to go back to item D, introduction of local bills, so that the floor leader may make the appropriate motions for the actions for legislation. Recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I motion to place House Local Bill 22-38, House Local Bill 22-41, House Local Bill 22-42, and House Local Bill 22-43 on today's calendar for action. So move.
Thank you. So there's been a motion to place these legislations on today's bill calendar. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All who oppose, say nay. Motion carries. And with that, House Local Bill 22-38, House Local Bill 22-41, House Local Bill 22-42, and House Local Bill 22-43, correct, Flor? Are hereby on today's bill calendar. Moving on to item J, Senate Communications, Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, we have two Senate Communication 22-6 and 22-7.
Okay, any discussion on those two communications? Ready? Moving on to item K, Delegation Matters, Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, we have three delegation matters 22104 to 22106.
Any discussion on delegation matters? Ready? Item L, Miscellaneous Communications. Recognize the clerk.
We have nine, Mr. Chairman, miscellaneous communication 2293 to 22101.
Any discussion under miscellaneous communications?
Ready?
Already? So we have none under reports of standing committee, none under reports of special conference committees, none under unfinished business. No resolutions on today's resolution calendar, and we are now at item Q, our bill calendar, and I would like to now recognize the floor leader for the motions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, members, I motion to pass House Local Bill 22-38 to reappropriate $63,749 allotted under Saipan Local Law 20-18 and $42,551.45 allotted under Saipan Local Law 20-24 and for other purposes. So moved.
There's been a motion to pass House Local Bill number 22-38, and it has been seconded. Any discussions on that motion? Recognize the author, Representative Staffler.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to let you know what this reappropriation would be for. In the Kegman area, there are two local restrooms that have been abandoned basically since I've ever lived in Kegman. One at the Kegman 2 basketball court and one at the Marine Beach area, and both need a lot of help and work. Part of this appropriation was originally supposed to be for the renovation of the Kegman 2 basketball court. And I know that they did replace and repair the recent basketball, I forget what it's called right now, but you know, where the rim goes, the backboard, thank you. And so that's one part of the project, but the restroom needed more work and it needed to be completed still. And so by combining the leftover money from the completed road project in Canatabla, this can hopefully get a little bit of support to address these two restrooms for the public use in the area of Kegman, especially with tourism coming back up. We want to make sure that this money gets used to support the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Staffler. Anybody else for under discussion? Ready? Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Acta,
Yes.
Representative Babalta Sheila,
Again.
Representative Camacho Vicente,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Representative Demapan,
Ngan.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Magofnia, Representative Guerrero, Representative Probst,
Yes.
Representative Sablan Cristina,
Yes.
Representative Staffler,
Ngan.
Representative
Yes.
Sablan John Paul,
Ngan.
Representative Villa Gomez.
I will.
Mr. Chairman,
Ungan.
Mr. Chairman, all 14 members voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With all 14 members voting yes, House Local Bill number 22-38 hereby passes this delegation. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, at this time, I'd like to motion to pass House Local Bill 22-41 to appropriate $2,644,000 from revenues collected pursuant to Saipan Local Law 11-2 as amended and for other purposes. So move.
There's been a motion to pass House Local Bill number 22-41, and it has been seconded. Any discussion on that motion? recognize Representative Tina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to clarify for the item that would appropriate 200,000 for the operations of the SNILD. Are we still able to appropriate funds? I would assume this would carry over into the next legislature, if that is the intention. And can we just verify that those funds would not lapse at the end of this term? I think we're supposed to have our last session very soon. So may I just get some clarification on that?
I'm going to recognize the author, Representative Atto, for
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that question, Rep. Tina Sablan. Actually, the chairman of the delegation will most likely set a deadline for the expenditure of these funds. If we don't exhaust these funds, it'll go back into the pot of the third senatorial district, so we can appropriate whatever remaining funds in the next legislature. It'll be not a carryover funds for the delegation itself. It'll go back to be considered not lapsed because it'll go back to the delegation for appropriation purposes. It'll still reflect the numbers of the 2022 poker fees.
Okay, so these funds then will not be available to the next chairman of the SNILD. It will only be available for the members of this term?
For the members of this term, what's not expended, let's say $100,000 is left of the 200,000, it will be available, but it'll be numbers from 2022. Because the delegation monies that are received from poker fees does not lapse for anything. It's continuous collection, but the numbers would be reflected. So if we were going to write a bill for the 23rd legislature, it's to appropriate 23 dash whatever to appropriate the lapse funds from 22 whatever the local law is going to be.
Right. So effectively then, the members of this current Saipan and Northern Islands delegation would have until January 9th to spend $200,000.
Up to the day of the sign and die of the delegation, because any authority of the expenditure, like the expenditure authority of the chairperson of the delegation, will be exhausted on the sign and die.
Can I ask for a very short recess?
Short recess. Good afternoon to the viewing public. We are now back in session, and before the short recess, we were under discussion on the passage of House Local Bill 22-41. And I hereby Rep. Tina Sablan had the floor. So recognize Rep. Tina.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to, yeah, thank you for clarifying or for addressing my questions. Chairman Attel, I wanted to next offer, I guess, a floor amendment or maybe a technical amendment
Sure.
for section 6 on page 3. And I guess maybe we should start with line 14. Of the funds allocated under Section 2 of this Act shall be responsible to report all expenses to the Secretary of the Department of Finance by the end of the 2023 calendar year. Is that correct? Yes. Chairman Nato? Provided further that entities that receive funds under this Act and that fail to provide expense reports shall not be able to avail of any future funds appropriated by the Saipan and Northern Islands Legislative Delegation. Period. I so offer that technical amendment.
Okay, so with no objection, can we treat those two changes made by Representative Tina Sablan as a technical? Okay. I'm ready. Yeah. So please, clerk and council, please take note of that and make those technical amendments to the legislation, okay, before transmittal. Thank you. So we're still under discussion. Are we ready? Okay. Clerk, please call the roll for the passage of House Local Bill 22-41.
Representative Attal,
Yes.
Representative Babalta Sheila,
Again,
Representative Camacho Vicente,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
yes.
Representative Demapan,
Good.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero,
Good.
Representative Magofnia, Representative Probst,
Yes.
Representative Sablan Christina,
Yes.
Representative Sablan John Paul,
Hungan.
Representative Staffler,
Ungan.
Representative Villa Gomez,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Hungan.
Mr. Chairman, all 14 members voted yes.
Thank you, clerk. With all 14 members voting yes, House Local Bill number 22-41 passes delegation. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, at this time, I offer a motion to pass House Local Bill 22-42 to appropriate up to $801,544 from the Third Senatorial District Developers Infrastructure Tax Fund and for other purposes. So move.
There's been a motion to pass House Local Bill number 22-42, and it has been seconded. Discussion on that motion. Ready? Okay. Short recess. Okay, we are back from recess, and before recess, we were under discussion on on the passage of House Local Bill number 22-42. And right now, I hereby recognize the Vice Chairman of this delegation, Vice Chairman Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This time I'd like to offer a floor amendment on page 2, line 1. After the word flooding control to include road improvement. So move.
So there's been a floor amendment offered by Vice Chairman Sablan. It has been seconded. Any discussion on that floor amendment? Recognize Representative Christina Sablan.
Thank you. I'd like to thank my Precinct 2 colleague for offering the floor amendment. And if I may just clarify, so that should read 128,772 for flooding control and road improvements in Precinct 2. And then the expenditure authority would remain the same. Okay, thank you. Ready?
Thank you, Representative Sablan. Ready?
Ready.
Okay, so all in favor for that floor amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it and motion carries. And now we are back to the main motion and just a short recess, please. Okay, so back to the main motion for the passage of House Local Bill number 22-42 as amended, draft 1. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Facto,
Yes.
Representative Babauta Sheila,
Again,
Representative Camacho Vicente,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
yes.
Representative Demapan,
Ngan.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero,
Ngan for precinct 2.
Representative Magofnia, Representative Probst, Representative Sablan Christina,
Yes.
Representative Sablan John Paul,
Hungan.
Representative Staffler, Representative Villagomez.
However.
Mr. Chairman,
Hungan.
Mr. Chairman, all 14 members voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With all 14 members voting yes, House Local Bill number 22-42 passes today's delegation in the form of draft 1. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I motion to pass House Local Bill 22-43 to appropriate unobligated funds under Saipan Local Law 22-10 and for other purposes. So move.
Okay, there's been a motion to pass House Local Bill number 22-43, and it has been seconded. Any discussion on that motion? Recognize Representative Vijayato.
I know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that these are the unobligated funds that were vetoed, the monies that were supposed to go to the mayor of Saipan and the Cagman Watershed project. Just to let the members know that the Cagman Watershed project is not a forgotten project. We will address that project in the next appropriation once we get into the 23rd legislature, so that the members know that we're not moving this money away from the Cagman Watershed project. Obviously, it's been line item vetoed twice already, so therefore we will address that in the 23rd. Hopefully, this projects and these entities, the NGOs that will be receiving some of these monies, will be addressed. And I would like to introduce a substitute to 2243, and I believe all the members had received that substitute. So the only difference, or the main difference, is we're removing $150,000 from that project of, my apologies, the Flores Rosa Street in Garapan, which is the, if everybody's familiar with that road, it's the J&G flooding issue that we have over there. So hopefully these should be enough monies to address that issue. Although we took away 150, that's fine. We're willing to sacrifice some money from Precinct 3 to address the needs of the NGOs. So we added the Northern Marianas Athletics. They will be receiving $40,000. The NM Posse will be receiving $15,000. Caradot will be receiving $15,000. The Chief Agro Foundation will be receiving $10,000. Northern Marianas Library Association, $10,000. Manhita Marianas will be receiving 10,000. Our Commonwealth 670, 10,000. Talaza Club, 10,000. Pride Marianas, 10,000. Empty Vessel Ministry Foundation, 10,000. Marianas Outrigger Canoe, 10,000. And for legislative intent, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, that these monies that are going to these NGOs can only be utilized within the third senatorial district. They should not be able to utilize these monies to the other senatorial districts as provided by the AG's opinion that was given in regards to local monies being shared to the other senatorial districts that was disallowed by the Attorney General's office. So just so we're clear, and the legislative intent is there, that these monies are only for the NGOs within the third senatorial district, and our brothers and sisters in the Northern Islands. And I so move with the substitute version.
Okay, so there has been a substitute to House Local Bill 22-43, and we are still under discussion. Recognize Representative Cristina Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I guess since the language is basically the same for the reporting of expenditures from the previous bill, I'd like to offer the same technical amendment for Section 6 of page 3 for this bill. Expenditure authorities of the funds allocated under Section 2. Yes. Is this the appropriate time to do it, or should we accept the substitute first?
Yeah, we need to accept the substitute, and then we can amend or I guess consider, unless you want to be a part of the substitute, consider it technical to the
As a
substitute.
technical, okay, so it should read, expenditure authorities of the funds allocated under Section 2 of this act shall be responsible to report all expenses to the Secretary of the Department of Finance by the end of the, is it calendar year, Mr. Chairman, or fiscal year? Calendar year 2023.
Yes.
Provided further that entities that receive funds under this act and fail to provide all expense reports shall not be able to avail of any future funds appropriated by the Saipan and Northern Islands Legislative Delegation. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Cristina Sablan, for that technical amendment. Thank you, Representative Cristina Sablan, for that technical amendment. We're still under discussion on the substitute. Okay. Recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I completely support passing this bill. I also serve as a chair, a board member on one of the nonprofit organizations listed. I also have done work with many of the nonprofits listed and have personal relationships and friendships with people doing a lot of this good work. So I am going to abstain from voting, and I ask for your full support for this substitute. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, floor leader. So noted. Anybody else under discussion on the substitute of House Local Bill 22-43? Ready? Okay, all in favor for the substitute on House Local Bill 22-43, please say aye. All who oppose, say nay. The ayes have it, motion carries. And now we're on to the main motion for the passage of House Local Bill 22-43 in the form of S1. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Fatal,
Yes.
Representative Babalta Sheila,
Abstain.
Representative Camacho Vicente,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Representative Demapan,
Ungan.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Guerrero,
Ungan.
Representative Magofnia, Representative Probst, Representative Sablan Cristina,
Yes.
Representative Sablan Jampo,
Hungan.
Representative Staffler,
Yes.
Representative Villa Gomez. Mr. Chairman,
Hungan.
Mr. Chairman, 13 members voted yes, 1 abstain.
Thank you, Clerk. With 13 members voting yes and 1 abstain, House Local Bill number 22-43 passes today's delegation in the form of substitute 1. Okay, so with that, members, we have no more legislations on our bill calendar. We move down to R, miscellaneous business. Anyone with any miscellaneous business? No? Okay. Recognize floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have not been following as closely as I'd like about the Boost program. I wanted to see if there was any members who's willing to share any updates um, about the hearings or the interviews happening in the JGO committee, and just so that we can reiterate this and share it with our viewing public on the Boost program. Yes.
Sure, I can offer, I guess, a brief update. So it's actually a joint fact-finding effort by the Ways and Means and the JGO committees in the House. A number of subpoenas, duces tecum, as well as subpoenas to testify have been issued, and we expect the hearings to begin for the witnesses that will be called to testify next week, Friday. So the records are just coming in this week, and the members of the committees are reviewing them. And yeah, and as I said, by next week, the 16th is when we were looking at beginning the hearings.
May I just ask a follow-up question? What are like some of the main issues that have been identified so far with the Boost program?
We haven't yet had a meeting of the members to review the together as a committee, the contents of the documents that are coming in, but the main things that were asked for in the subpoenas that went out were at least some of the basics. What criteria were being used, how many applicants were there, how much money was requested, what was there a rubric, who was on the review panel, how were decisions being made, really some very basic elements of the program that weren't very transparent to the public. And and I'm sure if there are other members that want to chime in, there are questions that are being drafted right now, so I'd like to put that out there for the members. If you have questions that you'd like the committee to include for the hearings, please reach out to the chair or any one of us, or either one of the chairs or one of the members. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rep. Tina, for that update. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, floor leader. Anyone else for miscellaneous business? Before we move down to announcements, any announcements? I'd like to, under announcements, just kind of before we adjourn, just wish all the viewing public on behalf of the 22nd delegation, Saipan Northern Island Legislative Delegation, happy holidays to your families. Also to the members and to the staff, happy holidays and Merry Christmas from my family and I to all of you and your families. So I just wish that everybody would have a safe, and joyous, happy holidays and Merry Christmas. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Anyone else? Good. Okay, we'll move down. Oh yeah, and then we will be. I will be calling for the sign and die as soon as I find out when the House and the Senate and all the other delegations schedule there. So we don't want to push out a date and then everyone gets so. The date for the sign and die will be. I'll be sending out notices to everybody after Christmas, of course, New Year, right? Okay, so no more under announcements. Let's move down to item T, adjournment. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I motion for adjournment, subject to the call of the chair. So move.
Okay, there's been a motion to adjourn today's delegation session. It has been seconded. All in favor to adjourn today's delegation session, please say aye. Aye. All who oppose say nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. And today's delegation session is hereby adjourned. Have a great weekend, everybody.